I'd been driving for Lyft for about 8 months when this happened. It was mid-December 2022, one of those bitter cold nights where the wind cuts right through you. I was working the late shift, hoping to catch the bar crowd and make some decent money before the holidays. Around 2:15 a.m., I got a ping from someone named Marcus. The pickup was at a 24-hour diner on the edge of town. Nothing unusual about that. I pulled up and saw a man in his 30s standing under the neon sign, wearing a black winter coat and knit hat. He looked normal enough, maybe a little pale, but it was freezing outside. He got in the back seat without saying hello, just nodded when I confirmed his name. The destination was about 30 minutes away in a rural area I rarely drove to. No problem, I thought. Long rides meant better money. The first 15 minutes were quiet. He sat perfectly still, hands folded in his lap, staring out the side window. I tried making conversation a few times, asking about his night, the weather, anything. He'd just grunt or give one-word answers. Some passengers are like that, so I let it go. But then I noticed something strange in my rearview mirror. Every time I glanced back, he was looking directly at me. Not at his phone, not out the window, but straight at the back of my head with this intense, unblinking stare. It made my skin crawl. About 20 minutes into the drive, we were on a dark country road with no streetlights. That's when he spoke up for the first time with a full sentence. "Pull over here." I looked at the GPS. We were still 10 minutes from his destination. "We're not there yet," I said. I said, "Pull over." His voice was different now, lower, with an edge to it that made me grip the steering wheel tighter. "Look, I need to take you to the address in the app. Pull over now." I've never heard a voice change like that. It went from normal to something almost inhuman. My hands were shaking as I pulled onto the shoulder. The headlights illuminated nothing but bare trees and darkness stretching into the distance. He didn't get out. Instead, he leaned forward until I could feel his breath on my neck. "Turn off the engine." Every instinct screamed at me to floor it and get out of there, but I was paralyzed. I turned off the car. The sudden silence was deafening. "Do you know why I chose you?" he whispered. I couldn't speak. I just shook my head. "Because you work nights. Because you drive alone. Because no one will miss you for hours." That broke my paralysis. I lunged for the door handle, but he was faster. His hand clamped down on my shoulder with inhuman strength, fingers digging in like claws. "Don't move," he hissed. "Don't even breathe loud." I sat there frozen as he reached into his coat. I was certain I was about to die on this empty road, that my family would never know what happened to me. But instead of a weapon, he pulled out his phone. The screen lit up his face, and what I saw made my blood freeze. His skin was gray, almost translucent, with dark veins visible underneath. His eyes were completely black, no iris or white visible. This wasn't human. He was typing something on his phone, muttering under his breath in a language I didn't recognize. The temperature in the car seemed to drop 20 degrees. My breath came out in visible puffs. Then he stopped typing and looked up at me through the rearview mirror. When he smiled, I saw his teeth were black and pointed like a shark's. "Change of plans," he said in that horrible voice. "Take me back to where you found me." I didn't argue. I started the car with trembling hands and did a U-turn. The entire drive back, he kept typing on his phone and whispering in that strange language. The smell in the car changed too. It went from normal to something rotting and metallic. When we got back to the diner, he got out without another word. I watched him walk into the darkness behind the building until I couldn't see him anymore. Then I sat there for 5 minutes trying to process what had just happened. I looked at my phone to end the trip, but there was no record of it. No ride with Marcus, no trip history, nothing. It was like it never happened. But my shoulder still ached where he'd grabbed me, and the car still smelled like death. I drove straight home and didn't work for a week. When I finally went back to driving, I switched to day shifts only. But sometimes, on cold winter nights, I still get requests from that same area. I always decline them. 3 months later, I saw a news story about a Lyft driver who disappeared on a rural road about 50 miles from where I'd had my encounter. They found his car abandoned on the shoulder, driver's door open, no sign of struggle. They never found his body. The last ping on his phone was a pickup request from someone named Marcus. I was 19 and had just started doing food delivery for DoorDash to help pay for college. It was decent money for flexible hours, and I figured how hard could it be? Just pick up food and drop it off. I learned that night how wrong I was. It was a Thursday evening in early March, around 8 p.m. I got an order from a Thai restaurant downtown. Spring rolls, pad Thai, the usual. The delivery address was in a neighborhood I'd never been to before, about 15 minutes away in an older part of town. The customer's name was Jennifer, and she'd left specific instructions. Please bring to side door. Ring bell twice, then leave food and go. Cash tip on doorstep. When I pulled up to the address, I immediately felt uneasy. The house was old, probably from the 1950s, with peeling paint and an overgrown yard. Most of the windows were dark, but I could see a faint light coming from somewhere inside. The porch light wasn't on, making it hard to see the front door clearly. I grabbed the food and walked up the cracked driveway, looking for the side door. I found it around the left side of the house, a plain wooden door with no window. There was no doorbell that I could see, so I knocked twice instead. Food delivery, I called out. No answer. I waited about 30 seconds and knocked again, louder this time. That's when I heard it, a woman's voice from inside, but something was wrong with it. It sounded strained, frightened. Just leave it by the door. Please. Are you okay in there? I asked. Leave the food and go. Please, just go. But then I heard something else. A man's voice, lower, angry. Who's out there? The woman's voice again, panicked now. Nobody. It's just the food. I told them to leave it. I should have listened to her and left. Every rational part of my brain was screaming at me to put the food down and walk away. But something in her voice, the fear, made me stay. Ma'am, do you need help? Should I call someone? The door suddenly flew open, and a man appeared. He was tall, probably 6'4", with greasy hair and clothes that looked like he'd been wearing them for days. His eyes were bloodshot and wild. She said, leave the food, he snarled. Are you deaf? I could see past him into the house. It was dark except for the flickering light of a TV in another room. But what made my stomach drop was seeing a woman tied to a chair, visible through a doorway. She was looking at me with desperate eyes, shaking her head slightly as if to say, don't help me, just run. The man noticed where I was looking and stepped outside, closing the door behind him. Now he was between me and my car. You didn't see anything, he said, stepping closer. You're going to leave that food, get in your car, and forget you were ever here. My mind was racing. This woman was obviously in trouble, but I was just a 19-year-old college kid with no training for this kind of situation. I was terrified, but I couldn't just leave her. I think there's been a mistake with the address, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I'll just take the food back to the restaurant. His face darkened. No mistakes. Leave the food. Actually, I need to verify the order with the customer directly. Company policy. I was making it up, hoping to buy time while I figured out what to do. He took another step toward me. The customer verified. Leave it and go. That's when I made a decision that probably saved both our lives. I pretended to comply, setting the food bag down by the door. But instead of walking to my car, I pulled out my phone and hit the emergency call button. 911. What's your emergency? The operator's voice came through clearly in the quiet night. The man lunged at me, but I was already running. I sprinted to my car, shouting the address into the phone as I went. He chased me but gave up when he realized I was going to make it to the car first. I locked the doors and sped away, staying on the line with 911. I parked about 2 blocks away and waited for the police to arrive. Within 10 minutes, I saw 3 patrol cars racing toward the house, lights flashing. Later, I learned that Jennifer had been held captive for 6 days. Her captor had been using her accounts to order food, probably to avoid leaving the house. The police said if I hadn't called when I did, they might never have found her alive. The man was arrested and charged with kidnapping and assault. Jennifer recovered physically, but I can't imagine what that experience did to her mentally. I quit doing food delivery after that. Every time I got an order to an unfamiliar address, I'd think about that night and wonder what I might be walking into. Some jobs aren't worth the money, no matter how much you need it. But I'm glad I didn't just leave the food and go. Sometimes doing the right thing means ignoring your fear and trusting your instincts when something feels wrong. This happened to my girlfriend Emma and me last summer. We were visiting Chicago for a weekend getaway, staying downtown and planning to hit all the tourist spots. Neither of us had been there before, so we were relying heavily on rideshare apps to get around. Saturday night, we decided to check out a rooftop bar that was supposed to have amazing views of the city. We had a great time, maybe had a few too many drinks, and around midnight decided to head back to our hotel. Emma called an Uber while I settled our tab. When we got outside, the streets were busy with weekend nightlife. Emma was checking her phone for the driver details when a black SUV pulled up to the curb right in front of us. "That's got to be him," she said, and started walking toward the car. I was still putting my wallet away and wasn't really paying attention. The back door of the SUV opened, and Emma got in. I followed without thinking about it, sliding in next to her. The driver was a middle-aged guy wearing a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. He didn't say anything when we got in, just started driving. I thought it was a little rude, but some drivers aren't chatty. About 5 minutes into the ride, Emma nudged me and showed me her phone. My blood went cold. The Uber app was showing our driver as a woman named Lisa, driving a silver sedan. The estimated arrival time kept counting up. She was apparently still trying to find us. I looked at the back of our actual driver's head, then at Emma's phone, then back at the driver. We were in the wrong car with a complete stranger, and he was taking us somewhere. "Excuse me," I said, trying to keep my voice casual. "I think there might be some confusion. We're looking for Lisa." The driver's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. "No confusion," he said quietly. Emma grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. I could see the panic in her eyes. "We need to get out," I said louder this time. "This isn't our ride." "Yes, it is," the driver said, and I heard the door locks click. My heart was pounding now. I tried the door handle, but it wouldn't budge. We were locked in a moving vehicle with someone who had intentionally picked us up. "Let us out," Emma said, her voice shaking. "We'll pay you whatever you want. Just let us out." The driver laughed, but it wasn't a normal laugh. It was cold and calculated. "You're going to pay me, all right?" I realized we were no longer heading toward downtown where our hotel was. We were driving through a residential area I didn't recognize, getting farther from the busy streets where people might hear us if we screamed. "What do you want?" I asked, trying to sound braver than I felt. "What I want," he said, "is for you to shut up and enjoy the ride." That's when Emma started crying. Quiet tears at first, then full sobs. The sound broke something in me. I couldn't let this happen to her, to us. I started looking around the car for anything I could use as a weapon. The back seat was clean except for a couple of empty water bottles. But then I remembered something from a self-defense class I'd taken in college. I waited until we stopped at a red light. Then I grabbed the headrest of the driver's seat and used it as leverage to wrap my arm around his throat from behind. He started choking and clawing at my arm, but I held on. "Emma, unlock the doors," I yelled. She was faster than I expected. The moment the locks disengaged, she had her door open. "Come on," she screamed. I let go of the driver and followed her out of the car. We hit the pavement running just as the light turned green. The SUV screeched away, probably to avoid the scene we were making. We found ourselves on a residential street with houses on both sides. Emma was hyperventilating, and I wasn't much better. I called 911 while she called our actual Uber driver to let her know we were okay and give her our new location. The police arrived within 10 minutes. We gave them everything we could remember about the SUV and the driver, but we hadn't thought to get the license plate number. They told us this wasn't the first time they'd heard about someone impersonating rideshare drivers in that area. Lisa, our real Uber driver, was incredibly understanding. She picked us up and took us back to our hotel and refused to accept payment. She told us that fake rideshare drivers were becoming a real problem in big cities, and that we should always verify the license plate and driver photo before getting in. We cut our Chicago trip short and flew home the next morning. Emma had nightmares for weeks afterward, and I still feel guilty for not checking the car details before we got in. We were drunk and distracted and made a stupid mistake that could have cost us everything. Now we're obsessive about verifying our rides. License plate, driver photo, make and model of the car, we check everything twice. It seems paranoid, but after what happened to us, I'd rather be paranoid than sorry. I still wonder sometimes what would have happened if I hadn't managed to get that chokehold on him, or if Emma hadn't been quick enough with the door locks. The police never caught the guy, so he might still be out there, picking up other unsuspecting passengers who make the same mistake we did.